I'm Martin for the Avoiding Relegation channel, and welcome to my review of FM20 and also what I plan to do for FM21. Now, I say my review for FM20, it's not so much a review of the game per se, although that is kind of embedded in what I'll be doing. It's more a review of what my experiences have been with FM20, and obviously how they're going to face how I go on in FM21. But if we start out, we'll have a look at the saves that I did this year, certainly the ones that I put online anyway. So the first save I did, obviously, with FM20 was a beta save, which was Everton. In terms of my full-time Football Manager playing, and I think I said this about FM19, I hadn't been playing a great deal until I got into content creating for FM19. It meant that I did a lot more seasons, went a lot further, made a whole mess of videos, if you will, and, it became a different experience. Well, FM20's been a different experience again. Obviously, I actually started with the content creating prior to it coming out, so I was actually able to do the beta side of things. And like I say, I chose Everton as a team, and unfortunately, well, I didn't do very well. I managed 4 seasons with them, but I did get sacked at the very end of it, which is sort of the first time I've been sacked in Football Manager for a long, long time. But it's also the first time I'd really, started with a Premiership team rather than just starting with a lower league team and trying to build them up. So it was a good experience. I learned a lot, other than that I, wasn't a very good Premiership manager at the time. So, yeah. One of those things. So Everton, like I say, 4 seasons was enjoyable, but and I learnt a lot from it, but ultimately wasn't very successful. After that, we had the playing for set pieces journeyman. Obviously, what I'd planned to do in FM20, and ultimately I succeeded, was sort of, mastering the set piece side of things, not just from the point of view of the actual set pieces themselves, attacking free kick setups, corners, and all the rest of it, but also, getting the right type of players, identifying the right type of players, but also, sorting out a decent training schedule, specifically sort of focused towards playing for set pieces, as well as coming up with sort of a decent set of tactics. And like I say, I managed to achieve all of those things, was very happy with them, but unfortunately the journeyman was not the way to go and do it. And as journeymans go, it was a bit short. We only had 2 clubs in there. We had a couple of seasons with Esbjerg in Denmark, and then we had a couple of seasons with Lillestrøm in Norway, which again had a stunning time with Lillestrøm. Really, really did. They were superb. They got relegated at the point I took over, and we won the division very, very cleanly to get promoted, and then won the Premiership and the league. And the cup the following season. So it was great. But because I needed sort of more of a long-term development save, I decided not to continue with the journeyman. So that's kind of where it stopped, and I was kind of sad about it. I did think about coming back later on, but it is what it is. Obviously, after that, I also had the Swindon save, Swindon Till I Die. I only managed 1 season in that. I didn't have enough interest in it. It went very well. We got promoted in the first season, but there's only like 5 episodes for it. But like I say, even though Swindon is the town where I was born, I don't know, I just couldn't get excited about it, unfortunately. So that was that, really. And obviously, the current save that's going on for me is the Oldham Athletic save. I had one in FM19. I'm not going to have one in FM21. And I'm saying that because there will be one. I might not do videos for it, if you know what I mean. There's always an Oldham save. That's the way it is. But I am definitely going to be doing one for FM22 when it comes out, mostly because the Mad Scientist is going to be doing the database for the first season of the Premiership, and of course Oldham were there for that. We got promoted at that point, so there will be an Oldham season come FM22, but I just don't think I'm going to do one in FM21, basically. So other than that, the other things I've been involved in was the Versus FA Cup. Played as Kidlington, just for fun. I can't remember who we played, but I got soundly beaten, and I think I had 2 players sent off, so my first ever Versus, attempts were not very, very good, to say the least. But then we had the actual Versus competitions, which are not Versus games, Versus 3 and Versus 4, both of which were set up and hosted by The Custard Prophet. Versus 3, 3 of us, myself, him, and that trucking Football Manager, Will managed FC20 for a season. And that was a lot of fun. I did actually chuck in the second season as well, just to see how we get on. And that is obviously online as well. And then Versus 4 was Juventus. Now, this Juventus game situation, it changed everything for me, really, because like I say, all I've ever really done, other than managing Everton at the start of FM20, is low league stuff. And, FC20 were, Dutch Premiership, but still, they weren't considered a big team, I guess is the point. And Juventus, biggest team in Italy, unquestionably. So It was a lot of fun, number one, but I learned, I guess, a lot more about the game in some ways. Whether it's just, not just from the point of view of the attitude of how you talk to the players when you're trying to motivate them, but just, how to operate in the transfer market, which I failed miserably at. But yeah, as far as all the saves have gone, I've enjoyed every single one of them. I feel like I've gotten the most out of the Oldham Athletic save. Number one, I've enjoyed the way I've presented it. The whole season, single season reviews weren't bad, but I much prefer a half season review. Unfortunately, as you can tell, I talk way too much, even on my videos, and splitting it up into half seasons, even though those half season reviews seem to be just as long as the full season reviews, was a lot better. I intend to work on that, tweak it down a little bit, but I like the amount of game I get through in order to be able to bring you those videos, and I think that's quite important. So that will certainly be a thing. In addition to those series, of course, we had FME, which has been very well received. Football Manager Enhancements, obviously, where I go around and pick out some of the best hints, tips, tricks, tactics, database edits, you name it, and present them, basically. And been very pleased with how well it's been received. I've obviously want to continue doing episodes of that, but it does need some tweaks to make it a little bit better, I think. But ultimately, that will be returning for FM21. But I think I had plans for one more episode before FM20 was over, but now that we've got the beta announced, I think I'll just wait until FM21 comes out. So FME will return as well. See, as far as the game itself is concerned, I've really enjoyed FM20. I've probably enjoyed FM20 as much as I did FM19, and I enjoyed FM19 so much, especially as it's the first time I'd gotten into Football Manager to that level for years, since I was a kid, basically. And FM20 is just built on that. I've learnt a lot more. I've really enjoyed the new features. Obviously, the training system came in FM19, and I like that a lot. That's great. But obviously, the development centre and the way that's set up is relatively new. I like that too. I haven't done, again, a long-term development save, but the most development I've done of players has been in the Oldham save, and again, getting to grips with it, I've really quite enjoyed it. So again, something that may feature fairly heavily, should we say, in FM21 as well. I don't think there's anything I would say negatively about Football Manager 2020. People have complained about the match engine from the day it dropped. People complained about the match engine in FM19 since it dropped. These match engines do have their little idiosyncrasies, and but let's face it, FM20's engine is different to FM19's, and FM19's was different to FM18's, and FM21's will be different again. What we have to remember is that these guys are trying to create the look of a football match, you know what I mean, and make it look as realistic as is humanly possible, and they've done an absolutely wonderful job. They did a wonderful job in FM19 too. So, I saw more goalkeeper errors in FM19. I saw more unmarked people arriving on the far post in FM19 I do in FM20, but then we hit the post more in FM20, and there's a lot more oblique sort of shots, if you will, or perpendicular to the goal kind of shots. So, like I say, there's going to be, differences in the new one, but honestly, I've liked the match engine. I don't have any major complaints with it. I found a lot of the things that people complain about, how they conceded goals and all the rest of it. Tactical tweaks took care of that for me, whether it was dropping the back line or narrowing it, or indeed widening it. You know what I mean? I didn't find it to be too much of a problem, so I don't really share any of those complaints. So, all in all, FM20 has been a 10 out of 10 for me, as was FM19, and I'm sure FM21 will be just as good. I'm just as excited about it. So, FM20 has been superb for me. So as far as FN21's concerned, I'm pretty much on top of the set pieces thing now, which I think has actually become part of my manager DNA, because I've really enjoyed it, and I certainly intend to carry that forward when I go into FM21, regardless of who I manage. For the beta save, I've decided to go with Club Bruges. Main reason being is nobody seems to do anything with Belgian football. I've not seen any Belgian clubs sort of represented at all by any content creator. Now, in fairness, I've not seen what everybody else has done, and I can't claim to have read and seen and watched everything out there as far as it, but, from what I've seen, nobody seems to give Belgian football any love. So I decided that I would pick out Club Bruges. I love Bruges anyway, as a city. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And my best friend who lives in Belgium is also a Bruges supporter, so another good reason to choose them. Plus, I've never managed in Belgium myself, so that will be the beta save. I'm not sure if I'm going to go much beyond a couple of seasons, really. I stretched out to 4 with Everton. I will be doing sort of less episodes, more happening in between, if you know what I mean. So again, I will probably all of my series next year, other than anything, versus or outside of my own content, will probably be like half-season reviews. So expect half-season reviews for Club Brugge for the beta. As far as the main save goes, I'm going to have probably multiple saves because, quite simply, I haven't decided yet. One of the ideas I've had that will go through is called 3 Seasons With, and basically I'm going to be managing only top teams. Top teams in the UK, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, just all of the big names, basically, and just 3 seasons just to see how I get on and, what trophies I can win and all the rest of it. And this was inspired pretty much by, obviously, the 2 seasons I had at Juventus, but sort of finding out what a completely different game it is, managing a team at the top end rather than, one of the big clubs rather than managing a smaller team. And I want to get into that a little bit more and sort of enjoy that, because it does make for a completely different Football Manager game, really. For me at least, from what I've played in the past. So, like I say, chances are the first team that comes out and that will be Paris Saint-Germain. There'll be 3 seasons with them, but this will continue, I would say, irregularly, because I'll do some with a team and there will be another save going on in the background, so there will be other stuff coming up, plus the FME that I'd already mentioned. So that's sort of the 2 main things, the beta save with Club Brugge and the 3 seasons with, which will be running throughout the life of FM21. In and around all that, I want a long-term save. I want to get more into my tactical analysis this year and actually use the tools in-game to do it better than I have done. That doesn't necessarily need a long-term save and thus can be done as part of the 3 seasons with, but I also want to get more into the development side of things, and I do want to achieve turning a small club into a big club, if you know what I mean. So realistically, I want to start that long-term save sort of early on, even if I'm not necessarily presenting it until later on anyway, because I can set things up how I want to set them up and have videos ready to go and all the rest of it. But a long-term save like that needs to be started early enough, especially if I'm doing other saves and FME as well. So I have a few teams in mind. It's likely to be in the UK and just get them to the Premiership. But chances are I'm going to be picking a team that I have some personal attachment to. Top candidates include Banbury United. Of course, that's the place I spent most of my life living before I moved to Canada. Off and on, I've lived a couple of other places, but more than anywhere else, Banbury is the place. So Banbury United, the Puritans, they are in, I believe, one of the regional Premier divisions, so they're just outside of the Vanarama National South, I would suggest. They might actually, they'd be in the south. We considered, well, it was West Midlands, I guess. But anyway, so Banbury's the top one. But like I say, they're only sort of 1 or 2 below the Vanarama North and South, so not too challenging to get them up there, or at least not too many seasons to get them to the Premiership, theoretically. The other option would be Highworth Town, which is, of course, the place I spent the first year of my life. They are way down in, I think, level tier 9, possibly, might be tier 8 now, actually, because it got promoted a couple of seasons back, but they are also a consideration. That would have to be a much longer save, because obviously I've got to get them, up to professional level, into the actual league system, and would require a mod, as would the Banbury United one as well. So we'll see about that too, because again, that's a lot more playing time. So yeah, that's really kind of where it stands. The only other thought I'd had was actually resurrecting a dead club, and doing that as a rebuild system, from, say, one of the tier 8, tier 9, something like that, and then take them all the way to the top, but not 100% sure yet. So all you can bank on, Club Brugge in the beta and 3 seasons with. Everything else you're just going to have to subscribe, watch and wait and see, I'm afraid. I think that's everything. I hope you enjoyed that. Gives you a little idea of what's been happening and what's coming up. And if you've got any questions, post them below and I will get to them. Otherwise, please do hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching.